So this time, we are going to discuss lesson number 5, which is about real-life problems involving right triangles using trigonometric ratio. Hi! It's me again. So ano pang hinihintay natin? Tara na at matuto ng bagong aralin. So ano nga ba i-discuss natin today? So we are just going to continue our discussion about triangle trigonometry. So this time, we are going to discuss lesson number 5, which is about real-life problems involving right triangles using trigonometric ratio. So it's like we are here going to apply now uh, the lessons that we tackle in real-life problems. So, ano pang hinihintay natin? Just like what I mentioned to you earlier, tara na at matuto. So, ano nga ba yung mga kailangan natin in order for us to answer these real-life problems which involves right triangles with the use of trigonometric ratio? So, unang-una, kailangan natin, syempre, yung 6 trigonometric ratios. So, yung 6 trigonometric ratios na yun, tinatawag natin siya in short as SOHCAHTOA and CHOSHAKAW. SOHCAHTOA stands for sine, for SOH, that stands for sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, or in simple, that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. While CAH stands for cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. While TOA, which is TOA, that stands for tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. So these first three trigonometric ratios, ayun tinatawag natin three basic trigonometric ratios. It's because that's the usual trigonometric ratios that we are using every time we are solving problems which involves right triangles. So aside from SOHCAHTOA, next is CHOSHAKAW. CHOSHAKAW naman is the last three trigonometric ratios. CHOSHAKAW stands for CHO is for cosecant, which is equal to hypotenuse over opposite. So as you can see, ang cosecant is just like the opposite of sine. While SHA, which is SHA, that stands for secant, is equal to hypotenuse over adjacent, and that is the opposite this time of cosine. While the third one, the last one, which is CAO, which is CAO, that stands for cotangent, is equal to adjacent over opposite, which is the opposite of tangent. So these 6 trigonometric ratios, these are the things that will help us in order for us to solve problems which involves right triangles. But basically, the first three trigonometric ratios are the main trigonometric ratios to use in order for us to solve those problems. So aside from these 6 trigonometric ratios, another concept that will help us in order for us to solve involving right triangles is the Pythagorean theorem. So Pythagorean theorem states that uh, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the squares of the sum of its legs. So Pythagorean theorem is being used in order for us to find out the measure of the side of a right triangle given the two measures of its sides. So, in other words, it is just like we are going to find out for the third side of a right triangle. So Pythagorean theorem, where C stands for the hypotenuse. So if we want to find out for the hypotenuse using Pythagorean theorem, we can make use of the formula C is equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared. On the other hand, if we are going to find out for any of the legs of that right triangle, It's either we are going to mark that as A or B. So it will be that leg that we are looking for equal to the square root of the square of the hypotenuse minus the square of the other leg. So if A is what we are looking for, it should be A is equal to the square root of C squared minus B squared. Or if B is what we are looking for, it will be equal to the square root of C squared minus A squared. So the formula for finding the leg of a right triangle. So that comes also to the formula of finding the hypotenuse, which is also known as the Pythagorean theorem. So by isolating that equation, we can come up also with a formula for finding the leg of a right triangle. Take note, if the two given legs of a right triangle are already given, or two given sides of a right triangle are already given, in order for you to find out for the third side, you are just going to apply the what we call Pythagorean theorem. So aside from Pythagorean theorem and six trigonometric ratios, the next thing that will help us is about our discussion about angle of elevation and depression. So we know already on how are we going to form angle of elevation and angle of depression. So from the horizontal, if you are going to uh, look for an object above you from the line of sight, so you can form an angle of elevation. And from the horizontal, and if you are looking for an object below you, which is the line of sight, so you are going to form also another angle which is called as angle of depression. So we gave examples on how we solve problems which involves angle of elevation and angle of depression. So those problems also will help us, or solving those problems will also help us in order for us to solve real life problems which involves right triangles using trigonometric ratios. So lahat nung binanggit natin kanina, all of those are uh, things that will help us in order for us to uh, solve real life problems which involves triangles, because those things that we have mentioned are only being used when right triangle rather is given. So what are we waiting for? So let us apply now it. Let us apply those things that will help us through examples. That is by answering a certain real life problems which involves right triangles. So let's start it now. So example number 1. So let me read first problem number 1. So a ladder 8 meter long leans against the wall of a building. In the foot of the ladder makes an angle of 68 degrees with the ground. So how far is the base of the ladder from the wall? We mentioned the last time when we are discussing problems involving right triangles. So in order for us to uh, easily solve it, so an illustration will help us, because through that illustration we can visualize what is happening in the problem. So ang kagandahan nun, usually kahit wala kang problem, given lang yung illustration or yung figure, so you know already on what you are going to do because you can visualize it. So not unlike if it's just a problem, so medyo malilito ka pa on how are you going to solve for it, not unlike if you do have an illustration. So that's why, in order for us to solve these problems, which involves problems about right triangles or real life problems about right triangles, so we are going to draw first an illustration in order for us to know what is happening in the problem. So, kung i-analyze natin mabuti, there is an 8 meter long ladder na nakasandal dun sa wall of the building. So, from the foot of the ladder makes an angle of 68 degrees with the ground. So, how far is the base of the ladder from the wall? So, if we are going to make an illustration, so ganito yung ma-form natin. Pasensyahan nyo na yung drawing ko. So, let's say, sabihin natin, ganito yun. So the 8-meter long ladder leans against the wall of the building. So from the ground, meron siyang angle na 68 degrees. So how far is the foot of the ladder to the base of the building? So gaano kalayo? So this is what we are looking for. So from there, since we have visualized already what is happening in the problem, so using that illustration, we are going to think of a way in order for us to solve the problem. So since there is a given measure of angle, so doon tayo mag-start. So what we are looking for is this, yung uh, how far is the foot of the ladder to the building. So that is what we are looking for. So with regards to this given measure of angle, how is it related to this side that we are looking for? So that is its adjacent side. How about this side of the ladder? So ito yung tinatawag natin na hypotenuse. So it's about adjacent and hypotenuse. So which trigonometric ratio is using adjacent over hypotenuse? So that means that trigonometric ratio is that function is what we call as cosine. So that means in order for us to solve the problem, what we need to do is to apply the trigonometric ratio for cosine. Ano ba yon? Cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So to solve the problem, so as our solution, so since cosine is what is the function that we are going to use, so since given yung measure ng angle, so after the function cosine, you're going to attach right away the 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 measure of the angle. So cosine 68 degrees is equal to adjacent, that would be x over hypotenuse, which is 8. So that will come up with the equation as cosine 68 degrees equal to x over 8. Then from there, isolate that given equation so we can apply first cross multiplication. So this is over 1. So 1 times x is x. Then 8 times cosine 68 degrees, it will be equal to 8 cosine 68 degrees. So x is equal to 8 cosine 68 degrees. Then from there, you can make use already of your scientific calculator. So here, so just follow what I am going to say. So just on your scientific calculator, press first 8, then press times, press cos, symbol for cosine, press 68, press DMS, or symbol for degrees, minutes, and seconds. Then press equals. Sa mga modern calculator, pwede lang diretso. Press 8, press cos, press 68, press DMS, press equals. So you can right away find out for the value of x. So if you will follow the things that you are going to press on a scientific calculator, you'll find out that the value of x is 3 meters. So that is 3 meters. So ang lalabas doon ay 2.9999 and something. So pag ni-round up natin siya to 2 decimal places, so kung since 99 na yon, so mag-round up na siya. So mag-end siya into 3 meters. So ibig sabihin, so this foot of the ladder hanggang dun sa base ng building, ang layo niya ay 3 meters. So that's how we solve problem number 1. Do you have any question? So if none, so let's proceed with answering another example. Let's have example number 2. So let me read again problem number 2. Handsome is flying a kite. He is holding the end of the string at a distance of 1.5 meters above the ground. It's just like nakataas siya ganun ng kamay, hinahawakan niya na ang taas niya from the ground ay 1.5 meters. So if the string is 20 meters long and makes an angle of 40 degrees with the horizontal. So nakataas gano'n yung strings. Yung haba ng strings ay 20 meters. So from the horizontal of the strings, so pag gano'n, so makaka-form ng angle na 40 degrees with the horizontal. How high is the kite above the ground? So we are looking kung gaano kataas yung kite na yon above the ground. So from the ground hanggang doon sa kite, gaano siya kataas. So again, just like what we did on example number 1, so in order for us to easily solve the problem, what we need to do is to draw an illustration, because that illustration will help us visualize what is happening in the problem. So if we are going to draw an illustration for problem number 2, so ganito yung kalalabasan ng illustration. Okay. So ito yung nagpapalipad ng saranggola. So, napalipad yung saranggola, nakataas yung kamay niya. So ang height na nagpapalipad ng saranggola ay from sa kamay niya hanggang dun sa ground, 1.5 meters ang taas. Then ang string is 20 meters ang haba. So from the horizontal daw, excuse me. So from the horizontal daw, it makes an angle of 40 degrees. So what we are asking is, gaano kataas yung saranggola, yung kite from the above the ground. So from the ground hanggang doon sa saranggola, gaano siya kataas. So that's what we are looking for. So paano natin siya isosolve? So the first thing we are going to do, since ito yung buong hinahanap natin, yun yung x natin. So with the help of this right triangle, we can find the measure of this. Kasi etong part na to, alam na natin yung measure nun. And what's the measure of that? Ito yun. That is 1.5 meters. So ang kailangan na lang natin kunin na measure is this. Etong part na to. Para makuha natin yung measure ng buo, which is the x that we are looking for. So, in order for us to do this, gagamitan natin ng trigonometric ratio. So with regards to this given angle, so how is it related to this side that we are looking for? That is its opposite side. How about this side of the strings? That is its hypotenuse. So that is opposite over hypotenuse. So what trigonometric ratio is using opposite over hypotenuse? So in order for us to solve problem number 2, we are going to make use of the function na sine, or a trigonometric ratio for sine. So our solution, so ang goal natin is to solve for this. So that part, i-mark natin siya as A. So that would be sine 40 degrees is equal to A. So we will denote this part as A. Kasi yung x yung buo eh. So let's say this is A over opposite over hypotenuse, which is 20. Then do cross multiplication over 1 yan. So 1 times A is A. Then 20 times sine 40 degrees, we will come up with an answer which is A is equal to 20 sine 40 degrees. Then using your scientific calculator, tulad ng ginawa natin kanina, so just press 20, press 20, press times, press sin as a symbol for sine, press 40, then press DMS. Then lastly, press equals. Ayun sa mga hindi pa masyado yung calculator, pero sa mga latest na calculator, pwede nang diretso 20, press sin, press 40, press DMS, then press equals. So if you can follow that things that you have to press on a scientific calculator, you'll find out that the value of A is equal to 12.86 meters. So, usually, nire-round up natin siya into 2 decimal places. Kapag wala namang instruction kung saan natin siya i-round up, so always round your answer to the nearest hundreds or into 2 decimal places. So 12.86 meters, ito pa lang yon. That is A. But what we are asking in the problem is the x, gaano kataas from the ground to the top of the kite. Gaano kataas yun from the ground, yung kite. So, since we already know the height of this from the ground, that is 1.5 meters, all we have to do is just add them. So, in order for us to find x, so 12.86 meters, which is this part, plus 1.5 meters, which is this part, you'll come up with a measure from the ground to the kite. So 12.86 plus 1.5, simple addition, will come up with the value of x, which is equal to 14.36 meters. So, yung kite is 14.36 meters above the ground. So, that's how we solve problem number 2. So, any questions so far? So, we already answered 2 examples. So, again, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to ask questions so that yung question nyo, sasagot agad natin. Or para malinawan agad kayo on kung paano ba natin sinusolve yung problem na yun. Or kung may mali ba tayo on the solution or paano naging ganito sa solution, paano naging ganito yung sagot, paano nakuha ganito. So don't hesitate to ask if you do have any questions. So if none so far, so let's proceed on answering the third example. Let's have example number 3. Let me read again problem number 3. This time problem number 3. So a man 1.75 meter tall is on top of a building. He observes a car on the road at an angle of 75 degrees. If the building is 30 meters high, how far is the car from the building? So there is a man 1.75 meter tall on top of the building. So from there, nakikita siya sa road, sa kalsada ng car. Ng angle na mapoform niya ay 75 degrees. So if the building is 30 meters high, how far is that car from the building? So gaano kalayo yung nakitang car nung man na yon on top of the building? Doon sa building mismo na kinatatayuan niya. So para mas malinaw, mas makita natin mas mabuti kung ano yung tinutukoy natin on the problem or kung ano yung nangyayari in the problem. So let's do it or let's draw an illustration. So if I'm going to do an illustration for problem number 3, so ganito yung kalalabasan niya. Pasensya lang medyo balik, ano yan? Medyo saliwa ng konti yung drawing. So for example, this is the building. Yung height ng building ay 30 meters. Tapos may tao on top of the building na ang height ay 1.75 meters. Then nakita niya yung car sa baba na ang angle niya ay 75 degrees. So basically, the angle that we are pertaining to there is the angle of depression because from the horizontal to the object below, so we can form 75 degrees. So, how far is that car from the building? So, gaano kalayo ngayon? So, dito papasok ngayon yung tinatawag nating parallel lines that was cut by transversal. So, this part that we are looking for together with this horizontal na mapoform nung observer na nasa taas, yun ay parallel lines. While this line here, which is the line of sight, ayun naman yung magsisilbi as the transversal. So if the measure of this angle of depression is 75 degrees, mean to say the measure of this angle is also 75 degrees. It's because they are called as alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles has a congruent measure. So meron silang congruent measure. So instead of using this angle to solve the problem, we are going to use this angle for us to solve the problem. So ngayon, With regards to this angle, since we know that this angle also measures 75 degrees, how is it related to this side? Itong side na to ay kanyang opposite side. How about this side that we are looking for? That is its adjacent side. So in order for us to solve the problem, we need to use the function na tangent or the trigonometric ratio for tangent. So how are we going to form the equation? So our solution is, so since tangent is what we are going to use, so tangent, measure of the angle, that's tangent 75 degrees. Right away, kapag given yung measure ng angle, attach that measure of the angle on the trigonometric function na gagamitin natin. So that should be tangent 75 degrees. Then equal to opposite. Ang opposite niya is this side. Yung height ng building ay 30 meters. May tao nakatayo doon na 1.75 meter tall. So from yung height ng building together with that man on top of the building, so ayun yung height nung kailangan natin. Yun yung measure of this opposite side. That's 30 meter plus 1.75 meters. So meron tayong 31.75 meters over adjacent, which is x. So that we can form the equation as tangent 75 degrees is equal to 31.75 over x. Again, bakit naging 31.75? 30 meters, height ng building, plus the 1.75 meter tall na naman on top of the building. So over x. So from there, let's apply cross multiplication. So that's tangent 75 degrees over 1. So tangent 75 degrees times x equal to x tangent 75 degrees. Then it will be equal to 31.75 times 1. We'll have 31.75. That's why magiging ganito yung kalalabasan. We have x tangent 75 degrees equal to 31.75. Then since x is what we are looking for, so we still have to remove tangent 75 degrees here. So we can do that by dividing both sides of the equation by tangent 75 degrees. So hindi dito na lagyan ng degrees. So dapat may degrees yan. Type ko lang ulit. So we can cancel out now tangent 75 degrees here, then x will be left. Then from your scientific calculator or on your scientific calculator, so this is what you are going to do. So, una, press 31.75. Press divided by symbol. Press tan symbol for tangent. Press 75. Press DMS for degrees. Then press equals. Doon sa mga latest calculator na mayroong fraction part, so pindutin yung fraction part, then on the numerator, type or press 31.75. On the denominator, press tan 75, then DMS. Then press equal. So you'll get the value of x, which is equal to 8.51 meters. So ibig sabihin, that car is 8.51 meters from the building. Na ang angle of depression na ma-form natin ay 75 degrees from that observer on top of the building. So that is 8.51 meters. So any question on problem number 3? If none again, so let's proceed on answering another problem. So let us now answer problem number 4. Or example number 4. So here's example number 4. So let me read again. A man walks 20 meters due north and 30 meters due east. How far is he from the starting point? So just try to imagine. So ikaw, for example, naglakad ka 20 meters due north. Then 30 meters due east. How far is he from the starting point? So, mas maganda, para mas ma-visualize mo, again, you are going to draw an illustration. So, para alam natin kung ano yung nangyayari on the problem, And also in that way, we can um, think of a way on how are we going to solve the problem. So if I'm going to draw an illustration for example number 4, so ganito yung madodraw natin. So for example, this is a man. A man walks 20 meters due north. Due north. Then 30 meters due east. Ang east is to the right. Tama. That's to the left is west. So due east, that is to the right. 30 meters. Then, gaano daw kalayo yung man na yon from the starting point. So, nandito na siya ngayon. Ito na siya ngayon. Due north, then 30 meters due east, 20 meters due north rather, 30 meters due east, ito na siya ngayon. Gaano siya kalayo ngayon doon sa starting point. So, this is what we are looking for. So, from there, we can form a right triangle. So, and we are looking for this. And this, in a right triangle, we call this as the hypotenuse. So that means on that problem, we are going to look for the hypotenuse. So wala namang given measure of the angle except for we know that that it is a right triangle na merong 90-degree angle. So since the hypotenuse is what we are looking for, and given yung measure of the two sides of that right triangle, so what we need to do is to apply the what we call Pythagorean theorem. Diba? In the Pythagorean theorem, C stands for the hypotenuse, but in this problem, we denote this side as x. So instead of using C, we're going to replace it by x. So for our solution, so we are going to make use Pythagorean theorem, and using the formula, x is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. So we know that Pythagorean theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of its legs. So that pag sinimplify natin, it will be just the hypotenuse is equal to the square root of the sum of the squares of its legs. So that A and B there are the legs of that right triangle. All we have to do is given naman yung legs of the right triangle, so we can substitute that to the formula. So pag ginawa natin yun, pag substitute natin, that will be x is equal to the square root of 20 squared plus 30 squared. Then 20 squared, that's 20 times 20, and 30 squared, that's 30 times 30. So magkakaroon tayo ng x is equal to the square root of 400, that's 20 times 20, and 900 for 30 times 30. So 400 plus 900 is equal to 1,300. So before, ang ginagawa pa natin dyan is that we find out factors of that radicand for factors wherein one of its factors is a perfect square. But since we are allowed now to use calculator, so just make use of calculator by simply pressing square root sign, then press 1,300, then press equals. So you'll find out that the value of x, or the from the starting point, that man is now 36.06 meters. Ang layo niya. So from here to kung nasan siya sa kasalukuyan, then from the starting point, siya ay na 36.06 meters na. Ang layo niya doon sa umpisa niya. So, we solved that problem number 4 with the help of what we call Pythagorean theorem. So, did you get example number 4? So, I hope na medyo nakakasunod kayo on the following examples, because this will help you a lot in order for you to solve problems or real life problems which involves right triangles. So that when you encounter similar problems like this, you know already on what you are going to do for those problems, for you to be able to solve those problems. So kung wala ulit na question on example number 4, let's proceed now to example number 5, which is now our last example. Example number 5. So again, let me read problem number 5. So an observer sights the top of the building 220 meters higher than the eye of the observer at an angle of elevation 60 degrees. How far is the building? Again, an observer sights the top of the building 220 meters higher than the eye of the observer at an angle of elevation 60 degrees. How far is the building? So if you are going to uh, analyze the problem and to know what is happening in the problem, it would be best if you are going to draw again an illustration. So but in that way, mag-visualize natin ano ba yung nangyayari in the problem. So if I'm going to draw an illustration for example number 5, ganito yon. So there is an observer sights the top of the building na ang height ay 220 meters na ang angle of elevation ay 60 degrees. So gaano kalayo yung observer na yan dun sa building. So that is what we are looking for. So with regards to this given angle that we have, how is it related to this side? So this side is its opposite side. Then the side that we are looking for is its adjacent side. That's opposite over adjacent. So what trigonometric ratio is using opposite over adjacent? So that means we are using trigonometric ratio for tangent. Or sa madaling salita, we are going to make use of function na tangent. So, using tangent na function, so we can solve now problem number 5. So, this tangent is what we are looking for and given yung measure ng angle na 60 degrees, so tangent then attach that measure of the angle. Then it will be equal to opposite, that's 220 over adjacent, which is x. So that will come up with a solution, or we come up with the equation as tangent 60 degrees is equal to 220 over x. Then using cross multiplication, that's tangent 60 degrees over 1. So tangent 60 degrees times x is x tangent 60 degrees. Then 1 times 220 is 220. So that's why magiging x tangent 60 degrees is equal to 220. Then, since we want to solve for the value of x and it's still accompanied by tangent 60 degrees, so we still have to divide both sides of the equation by tangent 60 degrees. So maka-cancel out na ngayon yung tangent 60 degrees nito, then x will be left. This is the one we are looking for. Then again, on your scientific calculator, so just follow what I'm going to mention that you have to press on the calculator. So una, press 220, press divided by, press tan, which is the symbol for tangent, press 60, then press DMS for the degree, then press equals. So makukuha niyo value of x. For the modern scientific calculators that you have na mayroong fraction, so simply, una, press the fraction part. On the numerator, write 220. While on the denominator, or press 220 on the denominator part, press tan, which is a symbol for tangent, press 60, then press DMS for 4 degrees. Then press equals. So you'll get the value of x. So if you followed what I asked you to press on a scientific calculator, you'll find out that the value of x is 127.02 meters. So ganun pa kalayo yung observer na yon doon sa building. So, ganun pa siya kalayo. That is 127.02 meters pa ang layo niya dun sa building. So, that is how we answer problem number 5. So, take note when you are answering verbal problems or real-life problems involving right triangles or kahit anong problems, once you've seen a unit of measurement in the problem, so your answer must come up with the unit of measurement also. Same as the unit of measurement in the problem. Kasi kapag wala, it's just like you are answering a simple problem. Diba? So usually nga ang ginagawa natin, 'di ba, kapag nagsasagot tayo ng verbal problems, ang ginagawa natin meron tayong conclusion. That conclusion will be the one to answer what is asked in the problem. But medyo inano na natin siya, sinortcut ng konti, na kapag nakuha natin yung value that we are looking for, right away, we put the unit of measurement na katulad ng unit of measurement na involved in the problem. So that mas maikli yung solution natin and nagka-come up na agad tayo to the final answer. So again, for number 5, the correct answer is 127.02 meters. So is there any question for number 5? So any questions for the 5 examples that we discussed today? So hopefully, may mga tumatak kahit papaano sa mga isipan ninyo kung paano ba sinusolve yung mga problems na present natin with the help or about right triangles with the help of trigonometric ratios as well as Pythagorean theorem and about angle of elevation and your knowledge about angle of elevation and depression. So if you do not have any more questions, that would be all for today. Kung nagustuhan nyo yung video na to, so just hit like, share this video, and also subscribe IGOP Lord official channel. So, importante is for you to subscribe the IGOP Lord official channel. And also, don't forget to comment down below if you do have anything to say. So, hanggang sa muli, goodbye!